Two. All right, we're recording. So hello, Miss Maria. So nice to have you here. I'm going to let you take over and tell us what is happening. Hold on. Let me make you really big. I'm going to spotlight you.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone, all you beautiful viewers. My name's Maria Kramer, and I'm coming at you from the library. This is part of our summer reading program, so if you haven't signed up already, there's still time. Our last day is August 15th, and we'll have prize drawings and prize giveaways until then. So go ahead and sign up. But today we have something super special. It is Science Teller's Return of the Ice Sorceress. So I'll turn you back over to Dorsey, and you can follow along with us.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I'm going to highlight my video so everyone can see me really big. So thank you so much, Maria, and the Pueblo City County Library District. Did I get that right? Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to be here. Again, my name is Dorsey, and I am your science teller for today, which means we are going to go over in just a minute to a super fun story with some science experiments and polls. And then at the end of that, I'm going to teach all of you watching a really easy, simple experiment with only 4 ingredients that you can do in your own home. All right, so before we get started, there's a couple of things I need you to know is we're going to go back and forth 6 different times. From this screen here, we'll go over to the video, watch for a little bit, and then we'll pause it and come back here and do a scientific guess, or otherwise known as a hypothesis. So this is where you get to put your thinking caps on, get your answering fingers ready, and tell us what you think is going to happen in the science experiment in the story. Then we'll go back to the story and test that hypothesis. Then at the end of the story, we will come back here and I will show you that experiment that I was talking about that I'm going to teach you that you can do at home. And I think, Miss Maria, if there is nothing else, it's about time for us to get this party started. What do you think?
I think
I agree. I'm going to go ahead and mute right now. And then we will get this party started. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Hi, I'm Ricky, and I'm a science teller. A science teller is part scientist, part story teller. That's right. When you mix them together, you get a science teller. And that's someone who uses really cool experiments to tell an amazing story. That's right. You guys have been good at this. Today's story is called Dragons, Return of the Ice Sorceress. Let's get started. A long, long, long time ago, there was a kingdom. In this kingdom, there was a castle. In this castle, there were 2 kids. Their names were Henry and Beth. Henry and Beth, however, were not supposed to be in the castle. But one of their favorite things to do was to sneak into places where they shouldn't be. Suddenly, they heard voices. Someone was coming. They started to run. They ran down the hall and wham! Crashed into someone. They looked up thinking that it might be the castle guard, but they were wrong. It wasn't the castle guard at all. It was the last person they wanted to run into. Freeze! What are you doing in my castle? You 2 are in big trouble. Now come with me. Before the king could grab them, Henry and Beth ran, pushing past the king, ran down another long hall, and ran outside. Woo! That was a close call. Henry and Beth started running back to the village. They were almost home when suddenly, look out! They dove to the ground just in time as something flew through the air right over their heads and disappeared into the forest. Wait a minute! In the story, Henry and Beth saw something flying above their heads. Would you like to see what it looked like? Right here, I have a cooler. Inside this cooler, I have... Whoa! Woo! Something cold. It's so cold, I have to wear these gloves in order to touch it. In this cooler, I have... dry ice. Now, is dry ice hot or cold? It's cold. It's so cold, it's 109 degrees below zero. And that's why I have to wear these gloves in order to touch it. Everyone, stick out your hand. Close your eyes. Imagine you're holding an ice cube. What starts happening to that ice cube? It's melting. That's right. That means it's turning from a solid into a liquid. Okay, everyone, open your eyes. Does dry ice melt?
No.
Does it turn wet like an ice cube?
No.
That's why it's called dry ice. Now, when you heat up dry ice, it turns from a solid, not into a liquid, but into a gas. Now, what's it called when something turns from a solid into a gas? Evaporation?
No.
No, that's from a liquid to a gas. Is it called condensation?
No.
No, that's from a gas to a liquid. Is it called procrastination? No, I'll tell you what that means tomorrow. When a solid turns into a gas, it's called sublimation. Right here, I have one of my oldest pieces of equipment. It's called a film canister. I'm going to put a piece of dry ice in this film canister, and it will start to sublimate or turn from a solid into a
Gas.
gas. Even though we can't see it, matter is gas. A matter is anything that takes up space. Now, what takes up more space? A solid or a gas? A gas. A gas will expand and take up much space as it can. Now, when I put the dry ice in the film canister and put the lid on top, what do you think is going to happen? It's time to do our scientific guess, which is also called a hypothesis.
All right, yes, you guessed it. You know what that means. It's time for our first scientific guess. So I need you to tell me, what do you think is going to happen with that dry ice in the little film canister? How long do you think it's going to take to explode? Do you think that it's going to take about 10 seconds, about 30 seconds, or is it going to take more than a minute when he puts that dry ice in that little film canister, puts the lid on, and it builds up pressure? All right, let's share these results and see, because we have a two-way tie. That's the fun thing about science. All right, look at this, guys. So 50% say it's going to take about 30 seconds, and 50% say it's going to take about 10 seconds. So why don't we head back to the story and test out our hypothesis to see exactly how long it takes for that film canister to explode.
Okay, all right. Now let's see what happens.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, look at that, it's sublimated. Wow. Isn't that awesome? I love it. All right, now I'm gonna put the lid on top. Now, oh my God! Wow! That was awesome! Whoa! Whoa! Wow! That was amazing! When we put the lid on top, we trapped the gas inside. The gas kept expanding, trying to find space, which in turn built up pressure inside of the film canister, which made it pop up into the air. And that's what it looked like when Henry and Beth saw something flying over their heads. They didn't see what flew overhead, but Beth had an idea. Maybe that was the evil Ice Sorceress. But Henry laughed. That's just an old story people tell to scare their kids. She's not real. Now what would you do? A, would you run home? Or B, would you follow it into the forest?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Let's go in the forest.
Come on, let's go see what it was. Henry grabbed Beth by the arm and together they ran towards the forest. Meanwhile, high atop the castle tower, someone was watching them. It's those two pesky kids. They're heading into the forest. I'll stop them. The guard raced down the long hall, jumped onto his horse, and rode to the edge of the forest. Right there, far in the distance, running through the trees, he spotted Henry and Beth. The guard started to chase them. Henry and Beth started to run. They were fast, but the guard's horse was faster. Henry and Beth need our help. Put your hands up and be like the trees in the forest. He got closer and closer. The hoofbeats got louder and louder. He rode alongside them. Just as he reached out, about to grab them, they dove off the path and disappeared from sight.
Tell them they're behind the tree.
He looked right. Then he looked left. The guard saw something. But it wasn't Henry and Beth. It wasn't a person at all. It was a mysterious white cloud of fog. He felt very cold. Something wasn't right. He turned and rode off in the other direction. It was filling the entire forest.
What
Henry and Beth peeked out from behind the old tree they were hiding behind. The guard was gone. Wait a minute! Wait a minute! In this story, Henry and Beth saw something in the forest. It was a mysterious white cloud of fog. That's right. We're going to do an experiment to show you what that looked like. Do you remember what it's called when a solid turns into a gas? Sublimation. Right here, I have a graduated cylinder filled with water. I'm going to add dry ice to that water. What do you think is going to happen? It's time to make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis.
All right, yes, you guessed it. It's time for another scientific guess. This time, I want you to tell me, what color do you think the fog is going to be coming out of that tube? Do you think it's going to be a gray fog? Do you think it's going to be a white fog? Or is it maybe going to be a pretty blue fog? What color do you think that fog is going to be? Because you know, fog sometimes is different colors. So put your thinking caps on, get your answering fingers ready, and let's see what we think, because we have a unanimous decision. 100% say it's going to be a white fog. So why don't we go back to the story, test out this hypothesis, and see if we are in fact correct.
All right, it's time to test out our theory. Let's see what happens. When we put the dry ice into water, the water makes the dry ice heat up and sublimate even faster. That allows us to see all the gas, just like a fog or a cloud. That's right. We can actually, whoa, pour it in our hands. Look at that. Whoa. We can even pour it in our lab coats. Oh. I can even pour it on you. And this is what it looked like when Henry and Beth saw the mysterious white fog. The guard was gone, but that's when they saw it. Right there, the fog. It was coming towards them. What would you do? Would you A, stay in the foggy forest? Or would you B, warn the king?
Yes, get out of that forest. Let's go warn the king.
Quickly, Henry and Beth ran back towards the castle to warn the king. Henry and Beth ran fast as they could. They saw the castle in the distance. Finally, they made it out of the forest. But they were too late. Right there, standing in front of the castle, they saw her. It was the evil Ice Sorceress. Suddenly, the trumpets blared. The castle gates blew open. And the knights marched out. But nobody could have known what was going to happen next. The evil Ice Sorceress stomped her feet. She clapped her hands. She snapped her fingers. With a wave of the hand and flick of the wrist, she released bubbles of fog that rained down from the sky. When the bubbles popped, they released ice-cold fog that froze the night solid. Wait a minute! In the story, the evil Ice Sorceress stomps her feet. She claps her hands and she snaps her fingers. That's right. When she does, she makes bubbles of fog. We're going to do an experiment to show you exactly what that looked like. Right here, I have a flask. In my flask is water. Now we're going to add a chemical to this water. Soap. We're going to add a piece of dry ice to the soapy-filled water. What do you think is going to happen? It's time for our scientific guess, also known as a hypothesis.
All right, yes, you guessed it. We have another scientific guess that we have to make. This time, I want to know how high do you think those bubbles are going to go in or over that flask? So he's got that flask of water. He's going to put the dry ice in there, and we have soap. So do you think that the bubbles are only going to go halfway and stop? Or do you think they're going to go all the way to the top and just stop at the top? Or do you think it's going to overflow and make a big, huge mess? What do y'all think? All right, let's share these results. This is so much fun. I just love science. All right, look at this, and we agree again. Look at this. We think that 100% it's going to overflow and make a big, huge mess. And you know, I'm kind of thinking that some of y'all might have been playing with bubbles and soap before, so you kind of know what happens. So let's get back to the story and test out this hypothesis and see how many bubbles are actually created.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go. There's the soap. All right. Now it's time to add the dry ice. Here we go. Whoa! Oh my gosh! Look at that!
Awesome! Overflowed.
Oh, you can see the fog inside of the bubbles. The dry ice supplemented. It turned from a solid into a gas. The gas is filling up the soap. And that's why we're getting so many bubbles. Lots and lots of bubbles. This is really cool. When the bubbles pop, you can see the fog inside of them escape. It's really cool. And this is what it looked like when the evil Ice Sorceress made bubbles of fog. But it wasn't the nights that she wanted. Right there, she found who she was looking for. Slowly, she walked towards the king. She stomped her feet. She clapped her hands. She snapped her fingers. And with a wave of the hand and flick of the wrist, she released a giant bubble of fog. The bubble popped, releasing an ice-cold fog that froze the king solid. Then, ever so slowly, the evil Ice Sorceress turned around and looked out into the distance. With a flash of her icy blue eyes, she caught Henry and Beth watching her.
Get out of there!
They started to run. They arrived at a sign with two locations: Fiery Mountains or Frozen Swamp.
What would you do? Would you A, run to the Fiery Mountains, or would you B, head to the Frozen Swamp?
Get out of that swamp! Go high! Go to the mountains! Good choice.
Henry and Beth reached the base of the Fiery Mountains. There, it was said, the dragons lived. A dragon was Henry and Beth's only hope to stop the evil Ice Sorceress. They climbed up, and up, the narrow rocky path, winding their way higher and higher into the mountains. With every step they took, they felt the ground getting warmer beneath their feet. As they got closer, they saw it was the opening to a cave.
What would you do? Would you A, keep climbing, or B, go into the cave?
Let's go into the cave. That mountain is hot.
With whatever courage they had left, Henry and Beth stepped inside of the cave. At once they heard a deafening roar. They looked up. They couldn't believe their eyes. They were standing face to face with a dragon. Two children in my mountain cave. What are you doing here?
Okay, everybody, Henry and Beth needs our help again, okay? On 3, yell, the evil Ice Sorceress is back, okay? You ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
The evil Ice Sorceress is back!
Roar! My fire should be able to melt her. The dragon flew up in the air. Henry and Beth felt the powerful wind in their face and hair.
Wait a minute! In the story, Henry and Beth flew through the air with the dragon. That's right. While they were flying through the air, they felt how strong the wind was. We're going to do an experiment to show you what that was like. Now, what's all around us that we need to breathe? Air. Now, is air a solid, a liquid, or a gas?
It's a gas.
That's right. Air is made out of tiny little particles, too small for us to see. But If we can't see it, how do we know it exists? Because we can feel it. We can also see the effects that it has on other objects. Right here, I have a leaf blower. The leaf blower sucks air through this end and shoots it out at 140 miles an hour. Oh my goodness, that was amazing! I wonder if I can find something else in the lab to use it on. Let's try the leaf blower with this toilet paper. What do you think is going to happen? It's time for us to make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis.
All right, yes, you guessed it. We have another scientific guess. This time, I want you to tell me, what do you think is going to happen to the toilet paper? So he's going to turn that leaf blower on, which has a lot of energy, a lot of air. So is the toilet paper going to fly through the air? Is it going to, I don't know, fall to the ground? Or do you think it's going to unravel? What do you think? So put those science thinking caps on, get your answering fingers ready, and tell me what you think is going to happen. All right, let's share these results. And look at this, we have an even split again. 50% say it's going to fly, and 50% say it's going to unravel. And you know, the fun of science is sometimes more than one thing happens in the experiment. So let's head back to the story, test our hypothesis, and see exactly what happens to that toilet paper.
All right, now it's time to test out our theory. Fast-moving air has lots of energy. When the energy comes into contact with another object, like the toilet paper, it makes the toilet paper fly through the air. And that's what it looked like when Henry and Beth flew through the air with the dragon.
Flying through the air, the dragon saw the entire kingdom below. The castle was completely frozen in ice. Right there stood the evil Ice Sorceress. She was watching. The dragon landed in front of the castle and put Henry and Beth down.
I'll be right back.
The dragon took a deep breath and released a blast of fire.
Not even fire can melt me.
She stomped her feet. She clapped her hands. She snapped her fingers. And with a wave of the hand and a flick of the wrist, she released bubbles of fog that rained down on Henry and Beth. Just when they thought all hope was lost, Henry and Beth heard a sound. The dragon spread its wings wide apart and covered Henry and Beth like a giant umbrella. The bubbles popped, releasing their ice-cold fog that froze the dragon solid. Then the evil Ice Sorceress rose up into the air and started flying towards them.
What would you do? Would you A, face the evil sorceress? Or would you B, find a place to hide?
Yes, let's hide. Run quickly.
Henry and Beth started to run. Henry and Beth saw an open window in the castle. They jumped inside. Down, down, down to the coal castle cellar. Everything in the cellar was completely frozen in ice, except for one thing: an old wooden barrel.
They opened the barrel. It was filled with salt. As they climbed inside the barrel, some salt spilled out onto the ground, and it started to melt the ice. Just then, someone kicked the door in.
I can see you come out of that barrel.
She stomped her feet. She clapped her hands. She snapped her fingers. The evil Ice Sorceress started to wave her hand.
But before the evil Ice Sorceress could flick her wrist, Henry and Beth had an idea. They reached their hands inside of the barrel, grabbed a handful of salt, and on three, 1, 2, 3, they threw it at her.
All at once, the salt began to work. The evil Ice Sorceress broke out in a cold sweat, and she watched as the salt melted through her icy skin. With one final shriek, the evil Ice Sorceress exploded into millions of tiny water droplets that fell like rain. And just like that, the evil Ice Sorceress was gone. This time, for good.
Wait a minute! In this story, Henry and Beth melted the evil Ice Sorceress with salt. She exploded into millions of ice droplets. We're going to do an experiment to show you what that looked like. Okay, everyone, do like this. Okay, do it again. We breathe out CO2, or carbon dioxide. That's the same thing that dry ice is made out of. Dry ice is just the solid form of carbon dioxide. Inside this cartridge is carbon dioxide gas. When we open up this end, carbon dioxide escapes very, very fast. I'm going to attach it to this tube. And what's inside of this tube? Nothing right now. We're going to put water inside of the tube. We're going to pull this lever and release the carbon dioxide gas. Now, what do you think is going to happen? It's time for our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis.
All right, yes, it's that time once again for another scientific guess. This time, I want you to tell me, how wet do you think storyteller Rick is going to get? So he's going to put water in that tube and then turn that lever where the CO2 makes the water shoot out. So do you think storyteller Rick is going to stay dry? He's not going to get wet at all. Or do you think he's going to get maybe a little bit wet? Or do you think he's going to get soaking wet? What do you guys think is going to happen when the CO2 hits the water and it comes shooting out? Or does it come shooting out? I don't know. Let's see what we think here, because we have another split. And this is what is so fun about science. 50% say, ooh, a little bit wet, and 50% say soaking wet. Yeah, I have a feeling, again, some of you are really used to playing with the faucet or the sprinkler, and you know how these things work. So let's head back to the story and test out our hypothesis to see exactly how wet or not wet storyteller Rick is.
Okay, well, let's see what's going to happen. Now, let's count down from 10. Are you ready? Let's do it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh!
Soaking
Oh.
wet.
Oops. And that's what it looked like when the evil Ice Sorceress exploded into thousands of little tiny droplets of water.
Henry and Beth got right to work. They dragged the barrel outside the castle, lifted it high over their heads, and dumped salt all over the dragon. All they could do now was wait. And wait. And the salt began to melt the ice. The dragon started to move. It flapped its giant wings and flew into the air. Flying over the kingdom, the dragon saw everything still covered in ice. It took a deep breath and released a blast of fire. As the ice melted and the kingdom thawed out, a huge cloud of fog formed over the land.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! At the end of the story, the dragon took a deep breath and let out a blast of fire. That's right. The fire melted all the ice and left a big cloud of fog. This is an experiment to show you what that looked like. Right here, I have a bucket filled with hot water. Right here, I have dry ice. What do you think is going to happen when I put the dry ice inside of the bucket of hot water? It's time to make our scientific guess, also called a I almost said the word hypothesis. Oh!
All right, I'm back for our final scientific guess of the story. This time, I want you to tell me how much fog do you think is going to be created when he puts the dry ice in the bucket of hot water? So that might make a difference. Do you think there's going to be a little bit of fog, or do you think there's going to be a lot of fog? Maybe there's going to be way too much fog. What do you guys think? Now remember, he's got the dry ice and hot water, so there's a chance it might sublimate even more. So let's check out these results. Look at this, 100% say it's going to be way too much fog. I think we just want there to be way too much fog because fog is so cool. All right, let's get back to the end of the story and see exactly how much fog is created in that bucket of hot water.
Wow! Okay, are you guys ready? I need your help counting down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Way too much.
The ice is sublimating very fast sublimating at such a high rate. And that's exactly what it looked like when the kingdom started to thaw out again.
The dragon waved goodbye to Henry and Beth and headed back to her home in the mountains. Everything returned to normal.
Suddenly, someone called for Henry and Beth. It was the king. Then they remembered that they were in trouble for sneaking around the castle. The king called for them again. This time, there was nowhere to hide.
Henry, Beth, I've been looking everywhere for you. Because of what you did, our kingdom is safe. All hail Henry and Beth, and your dragon friend too. And from now on, you are allowed to sneak around the castle whenever you'd like.
And that concludes Dragons, Return of the Ice Sorceress. Did you have a good time?
All right, that marks the end of our story science portion. Now I'm going to teach you guys a super easy experiment that you can do at home with only 4 ingredients. So now I am going to turn on my trusty science cam and share that video so we all can see. Where is it? Spotlight. Ooh, look at that. All right, so I'm going to turn this around, move this over, and you can see, move this out a little bit. All right. And yes, one of my doggies likes to get in on the action. All right, so what I have here are 2 containers of water. This is room temperature water, not hot water, like at the end of the story. And you just need a little bit. You don't need a lot of water. Today I'm going to be trying 2 kinds of string. The first one is just some regular little string twine that you can use in the kitchen for cooking or tying up a kite. The other one is some twine, and you can see there's some little hairs on that. I like to try different kinds of string because not all string is created equal. And both of these come in rolls. You can see this is the twine. You can get them at any craft store, just about anywhere. Then we have some regular table salt, not the big, thick, coarse salt, okay? Make sure it's the finer salt, not the thicker pieces. And then ice, because we had ice in the story, we had salt in the story, and there was water in the story. So I've got ice cubes here. What I'm going to do is to pour the ice cubes in the water. And you want the water to just cover the top. They're stuck. There we go. All right, perfect. A few more get in there. All right. Then what you want to do is take your string, and the secret, my friends, is to dip it in the water and get the string wet. All right, and you'll see I'm leaving ends of the string out of the water. All right, so get it wet and move it around so it's touching the ice cubes. I'm going to do the same with the twine. Some people call it jute. It's the same thing. All right, so get it wet. Make sure it's touching the ice cubes. Get on there. It's a new piece, so sometimes they have a mind of their own. All right. Then what you want to do is take your salt and sprinkle it on top of the string and the ice cubes. Make sure you sprinkle it on every bit where the ice cubes and string are touching each other. All right, so sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. All right, now what we're gonna do is let this sit. And again, my dog likes to get in on the action. She's a screen hog, little stinker. What I want you guys to do is let this sit for 1 full minute. So guess what? While that's sitting and doing its chemical reaction, we're going to do another poll. So I want you to tell me this time, what do you think is going to happen to the ice cubes? Do you think they're going to, since I put the salt in there, do you think they're going to sink to the bottom? Or do you think they're going to stick to the string? Or do you think the weight of the ice cubes is going to snap the string? What do you think is going to happen with this? And like I said, we have to wait about a minute for this to sit and do its thing. And the fun part is, guys and gals, try different kinds of string, because not all string is created equal. And the fun of science, you never know what's going to happen. And you might get different results every time you do it. And even the size of the ice cubes can make a difference. So let's share these results and see what we think. And look at this, we have a unanimous scientific guess or hypothesis that we think is going to stick to the string. So are y'all ready? I'm going to stop sharing these results. So I need some help before I try and pull these out. So give me a drum roll. Are you ready? All right, let's do the twine first. And oh my gosh. Check that out. Every single bit stuck. Look at that. I mean, that is like stuck. Okay, so now we're going to try the kitchen string or kite string or just string. So ready? Another drum roll, please. All right, and here we go.
Ooh, oh.
Oh my gosh, look.
Oh.
It's stuck too. Whoa. Da, 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 da. How awesome is that? So remember, guys and gals, this is only 4 ingredients. Turn my hand the right way. 4 ingredients. It's just ice cubes, regular salt, the fine salt, not the super thick, coarse salt, room temperature water in a small container, and your string, whatever kind of string you use, that's it. So do us a favor, and when you try this, make sure that you share your pictures of your scientific results with Maria, Miss Maria, and the library, so we can see what results you get from your own scientific experiment. All right, let's cancel this real quick. And I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger and say thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you completely enjoyed all of the science, all of the experiments, the story, and I can't wait to see what experiments you try at home. And before we run off, I'm going to switch on over to Miss Maria and let her tell you guys a few things that might be still happening at the library. So Miss Maria, let me make you super duper big.
Yay! Thank you so much, Dorsey. That experiment was really fun, and I might try it out myself at home. So everyone out there, thank you for watching, whenever you happen to be watching and wherever you are. We've still got some programs coming up. We have an Indian dancer presenting Satrangi's 7 Stories of Light, and that is next week. And then we have a juggler, Sam Malcolm, who's going to be giving us a show and teaching you guys how to juggle, and you'll have a chance to win your own set of juggling balls. So take a look at the library Facebook page, and that's where all that information is. Thank you very much.
All right, so Miss Maria and I are going to hang out for just a second, and the rest of you, thank y'all so much for being participants at the library, for reading and doing your science experiments. And again, don't forget to share your results with Miss Maria and the library, and we will see y'all later. Have a great rest of your summer and a great time at the library. Bye.